Hi, I'm Stephanie Jaworski of joybaking.com. Today we're going to make a cheese souffle. Cheese souffle has a beautiful golden brown top, but inside it is light and fluffy and moist. And since it's a cheese souffle, not only do you have the flavor of the eggs, but you have cheese, and then we're going to add a little bit of chives and even some chopped bacon. So the first thing that you will need to do is to preheat your oven to 400 degrees Fahrenheit, which is 200 degrees Celsius. And then you will need a 6-cup, which is 1.4 liter ceramic mold like this. You want a mold with straight sides. And then what we're going to do is butter the inside of our mold. So I just melted, maybe about a tablespoon of butter, and then I'm using a pastry brush. Now it's really important to prepare your mold because as the souffle bakes, it does puff up, and we want it to kind of grab onto the sides of our mold. So we have to prepare it very well. So just butter. And then, once it's all nicely buttered, I'm taking about 3 tablespoons, 15 grams of grated Parmesan cheese. And the other choice you could use is some breadcrumbs, but I really like the cheese. So what you want to do is just go around, get that cheese on the bottom and the sides as much as you can. Yeah, that looks good. Whoop. There we go. So what happens is when you want the cheese or the breadcrumbs, because when we put our souffle mixture, as it bakes, it's going to come up the sides and cling to that cheese or breadcrumbs. Plus, when you use the cheese, it gets really nice and brown and you can taste nice and cheesy. So, really good. Now, a souffle. You can have sweet or savory. Today we're making savory. And, they're not hard to make. There's just a lot going on. So I do recommend, as you can see here, I've measured out all my ingredients so you don't have to fuss when you're doing the cooking the base. And the first thing you will need to do is maybe a half hour to an hour before you start your souffle, you will need to separate your eggs. I like to separate my eggs while they're still cold. I find it much easier and the yolks don't tend to break. So you will need 4 large egg yolks, which is 65 grams of egg yolks, and you will need 5 large egg whites, 160 grams. So separate your eggs, and then I just cover them with plastic wrap and just let them sit on the counter and bring them up to room temperature. So now soufflés start with a base sauce. Like for a sweet souffle, a lot of times you start with a pastry cream. For a savory, today we are using a bechamel sauce, which is a thick white sauce. Really good. So the first thing you will need is a saucepan, medium size, and 3 tablespoons, 42 grams of butter. You can use salted or unsalted here, whatever you have in the house. Just put your butter in there. And then we are going to melt this over medium heat just until it's melted and it actually starts to bubble. Okay, it is bubbling. You can hear it sizzling there. So take it off the heat, and now I'm going to add 3 tablespoons, 28 grams of all-purpose flour. You may know that as plain flour. Let's put it all right in there. And I'm using a wire whisk. You could use your spatula if you want. Just whisk all the flour in. And then what we're going to do is put that back over the heat, medium heat. And we're going to cook this. I'm going to actually put my timer on if you're new to this. About 1.5 minutes, 2 minutes. Once it comes to a boil, just turn that heat down. You want just a gentle boil. Because what we're doing really, all we're doing here is cooking out that flour taste. You don't really want to get a lot of color to, this is called a roux. You just mainly want to get rid of that flour taste. So, you know, minute and a half, 2 minutes. Okay, that looks good. As you saw, I'm whisking constantly, so that's what you're looking for. There's a little bit of color there, but it's not like a real dark brown. And now, we are going to whisk in 1 cup, which is 240 milliliters, 240 grams of milk. You can use a whole milk, or even you use a reduced fat, like a 2%. And have your milk warm. I just put mine in the microwave for about 30 seconds just to warm it up. And then we're going to whisk a little in. It'll bubble up. Just whisk, whisk, whisk. And then just whisk in the rest. Easy enough. So now what we're going to do, so I get that, we're going to put it back over medium heat. And again, whisking constantly. We're going to bring this up to a boil. And then after that, we're going to turn the heat down and just have a gentle boil. And we're going to boil it for maybe, cook it for maybe 2 minutes, just until it thickens up and becomes really smooth and shiny. Okay, there we can see that. There's bubbles. So I'm just going to turn my heat down just a bit to maintain just a very gentle boil. And again, if you're new to this, you could set your timer for 2 minutes. But really, like I said, you just want it nice and thick. It'll look shiny and wonderfully smooth. Okay, that looks good. Let's turn the heat off. As you can see, it's wonderfully thick, smooth, satiny. So just take it right off the heat. And now we're going to add our cheese because this is nice and hot and it will melt our cheese. So what you want is 4 ounces, which is 115 grams. Now my choices are either a sharp cheddar or a Gruyere, or what I'm doing today is half and half, both. So, and you want to grate it, as you can see. I'm just going to add a bit and whisk that in. As you can see, this isn't hard. I mean, there's a lot of steps, but it is good to have everything out so you don't have to be running around. The rest of that. So what I'm using is 2 ounces of the grated sharp cheddar, about 60 grams, and then 2 ounces, about 60 grams of the grated Gruyere. I find, the cheddar gives it a sharper cheese flavor. I don't know. I've done it with either one or both. I don't know. I can never decide what I like best. But now I kind of use both if I have them in the house. So, and then for flavoring, that's almost done. I'm going to add 1/4 teaspoon, 1 gram of salt, and 1/4 teaspoon, 1 gram of pepper, black pepper. You know, if you're not big on pepper, you can not add as much, or if you're a real pepper fan, you can add even more. And I like to add just a pinch of cayenne pepper, just for a little bit of heat. And then, now these are kind of add-ons, optional. I'm adding 2 tablespoons, 6 grams of finely chopped chives, or you could use green onion. I think that the cheese, the chives, the egg, to me it goes really well. And then I'm going to add some bacon. I just cooked 2 slices of bacon, 2 to 3 depending, and then coarsely chop them. You know, you can just fry your bacon in the frying pan on the stove, Or what you could do, which I tend to do, is take a baking sheet, line it with foil, and put your bacon on there and cook it for 10, 12 minutes in a 400 degree Fahrenheit, 200 degrees Celsius oven. I find that's a really easy way to cook my bacon. Now, if you want to do vegetarian, of course you want to leave off that bacon, or you could saute some mushrooms or other vegetables and put that in there. I mean, really, it's kind of whatever you want to do. And now, we are going to whisk in our 4 large egg yolks that are at room temperature. Let's do that one at a time. It's going to enrich our souffle. And let's dump the last 2. Okay, so that is our base. So what I'm going to do here is clean up, and I need my mixer because we are going to beat our egg whites. So that's what I'm going to do. I'll be right back and we'll do that. So now for our egg whites. If you have a stand mixer like I have here, you will want your whisk attachment, or you could use a hand mixer or really a bowl with a wire whisk. And you will need your 5 large egg whites, 160 grams. Have them at room temperature. And then I'm going to add just like 1/4 teaspoon, 1 gram of cream of tartar. Cream of tartar stabilizes the whites and prevents you from over whipping them. If you can't find cream of tartar, you could just leave it out, or you could add an equal amount of lemon juice. As you can see, cream of tartar it's in the spice section of your grocery store. That's where you find it. And I'm just going to whisk that cream of tartar into our whites. And then I'm going to beat this low speed until they're foamy, and then increase the speed to high and beat them until nice and stiffly beaten. Oop, there we go. So start on low speed. Okay, so I've been beating them on low speed until this, kind of foamy. Almost holds soft peaks. And now what I'm going to do is increase my speed to high, and I'm going to continue to beat them until they're nice and shiny and thick and hold stiff peaks. Okay, I think they're done, yeah. So, once they come out, just give, with your wire whisk, just give it a good stir, and there we go. That's what I'm looking for. Droops a little. So now, we have our base, which is quite thick, and then we have that really nice, light, fluffy meringue. So we don't want to dump all of the meringue in at once. What we're going to do is add just a little to lighten our base here, because we're going to try not to deflate our meringue when we fold it in. So just gently, big strokes. Okay, and then when it's almost all mixed in, add a little more. And that's what makes your souffle so light and fluffy, soft, so good. And a souffle isn't just a breakfast dish. You could have it for lunch or even a light supper with a salad and a nice crunchy baguette. And, you know, do not, if you don't eat it all, do not throw the rest out, because I find I put it in the fridge and then I just reheat it the next morning, and I usually like to have it on a slice of toast or a baguette. It's really good. You can tell I like soufflés. They are definitely, okay, they're a little more work than if you're making scrambled eggs, but well worth it. And if you're having company, people are so impressed when you do a soufflé. I don't know whether it's because, you know, it puffs up and it deflates, so you have to serve it right away. Everybody has to be sitting down. The whole mystery seems so magical. So that looks good. Don't worry if there's like a few streaks of white in there. That's your meringue. It's better to kind of under mix it than over mix it and deflate it, and then your souffle won't go up as much. So just pour that in. Oh, gorgeous. Okay. And just gonna smooth it out. Some people like to run their finger around the inside. I don't, but I know people are going to tell me you should. Each to their own. So now, baking. Couple things. One, everyone's oven is a little different, and two, it depends on this, like the set that you like for a souffle. For me, I find my oven, I like about 30 minutes. 30 minutes gives me, it rises up, the top of the souffle turns a beautiful, gorgeous golden brown, and yet you can see the sides are soft. It's set. I don't like, it's set, but when I kind of take the pan, it still jiggles a bit. I like my souffle set still very like soft and moist, but not runny. So some people like theirs almost a little runny. If you do, then I would do it a little less than 30 minutes. If you like a more set than what I like, then you could go to 30, 35 minutes. So I'm just giving you a range, and then you can see what mine looks like, and then you can kind of gauge what you want to do at home. So 30 minutes. Oh, and also, as soon as I put this into the oven, I'm going to reduce the oven temperature to 375 degrees Fahrenheit, which is 190 degrees Celsius. So don't forget to do that. Doesn't that look gorgeous? As you can see, beautiful golden brown on top and the egg on the side. If I gently shake the pan, the souffle moves a little bit. Now, I don't think I said, do not open your oven door. You know, a lot of times I say rotate your baking sheet front to back for even baking. Not with the souffle, or it will fall. So, now, of course, a souffle does start to deflate almost immediately, so you want to have all your guests or family sitting at the table so you can walk in with this beautiful souffle. Now, I baked this in a 6-cup, 1.4 liter ceramic mold. I have also baked this in an 8-cup, which is 1.9 liters. You can do that. Baking time's not much different. You can also do it in individual ones. Baking time probably around 15 minutes. And you know, if you've never baked a souffle and you know you hear all those horror stories, that's usually what you hear. Don't be intimidated. Really watch the video, read the instructions, and make sure, like I said, have all your stuff out. Be calm and try it. And so what if it doesn't rise as much? You know, maybe you overfolded your meringue. So what? No one's going to know. And I find, you know, your family, your friends, whoever you make a souffle, they are going to appreciate your efforts because, I mean, who makes a souffle nowadays? Hardly anybody. So if you do that, people are going to be impressed. So now, let's try it. I hate to, it just looks so pretty. I hate to go, but I will. Now, this size, it looks like a lot, but you know what I find? If you have, especially if you have men, and you're doing, well, I don't know, I find when I serve Rick and my sons, I'm lucky if this feeds 3 of them, you know, because they go, oh, it's so light and it's so fluffy, you just go, oh, I think I'll have a little more. So just keep that in mind. Look at that, isn't that gorgeous? This is the cheese on the side. That's why I like to use the grated cheese, because it turns all brown and crispy. And then the top turns, it just, can you tell I'm excited? I just, every time I make it, I just, wow. Like I said, I like that Parmesan on the side. Adds a nice extra cheese flavor. And then I like a little bacon. Like I said, you don't have to add that. You could add some mushrooms or some other vegetables or just leave it out. Same as the chives. I think that adds a little bit of flavor. It is very light. I mean, it's surprising, you know, we made a sauce, you know, a white sauce, but it is so light in texture and moist, flavorful. What can I, it's fantastic. And I usually serve it with a salad, a nice baguette. You can make a baguette or buy a baguette. I mean, and keep leftovers, because like I said, you just reheat them. I like it on toast the next day. Perfect. So you really have to try this one. And until next time, I'm Stephanie Jaworski of joybaking.com.